Hello, you two. Welcome back to some online learning. I hope you guys had an awesome school holidays. I hope you guys got a chance to read during these school holidays. I'm going to start today off by reading a book to you guys. It's a bit of a longer story, but it's a really good one. So you can just kick back, relax, and listen to this story. It's called Albert's Birthday. It's written by Joan Dalgleish and illustrated by Penny Azar. Missy, where are you? Albert stood and listened. Nothing. No barks or whimpers, only the sound of the traffic on the road outside. I suppose you're having a lie-in, old girl, he said as he shuffled slowly out to the kitchen to put on the kettle for his morning cup of tea. He lit the gas and sat down to wait for the water to boil. Albert ran his hands through his thin white hair. We're not as young as we used to be, are we, girl? Why, I'll be 80 very soon. Never thought I'd make it. Not after that nasty flu I had last year. 80 not out, hey? He chuckled and wheezed into a cough. Well, Missy, if I'm 80, then you must be 15. What's that in dog years? Let me see. 7 years of my life equals 1 year of yours. That's... He tried to do the sum in his head, but it didn't want to be done. Never was much good at mental arithmetic. I need a pencil and paper. Albert's old bones creaked as he got up and went over to the telephone table. He picked up the pad and pencil he kept there for writing messages. The pad was blank because the phone hardly ever rang. Albert was an only child and he had never married. His mate Joe died years ago. Albert didn't know many of his neighbours. His tiny cottage was hemmed in on both sides of high-rise home units. The people there rushed in and out and never had time to stop and chat over the garden fence. Sometimes children from the school at the end of the road stopped to talk to Missy, but as soon as Albert approached them, they cried, "Stranger!" and ran away. "5 7 to 28. No." Albert sucked the end of his pencil. "No, 35. Put down the 5, carry the 3, 7 ones are 7, and 3 is 10. That's 105. He felt quite pleased with himself for working out such a difficult sum. The kettle began to whistle, calling Albert to make the tea. He poured the boiling water over the leaves and carefully fitted the old wool tea cosy over the pot. 105, Missy, why, you're older than me. He made some toast to go with his tea and called Missy again. She liked toast crusts, especially buttered ones. There was still no answering bark to Albert's call. He began to feel worried. After his tea and toast, Albert went through into the backyard. Missy often pushed out through the flap in the back door and went to line a small patch of sun that came between a gap in the tall buildings surrounding the garden. She wasn't there. He opened the door to the space underneath the house. Still Missy did not answer his call. It was very strange. Back in the house, Albert decided to get dressed. He opened up the wardrobe and there was Missy. She was curled up on an old wool cardigan that had fallen off its hanger. "So there you are, still asleep, you old lie-a-bed." He reached down to pat her as he did every morning. But Missy was quite stiff and cold, and she did not respond. Albert's hand began to shake, and the tears began to fall. "Oh, Missy," he said. "Poor darling Missy." Gently he gathered Missy up in his arms. He sat with her on his bed, rocking back and forth. Then after a while, he lovingly wrapped her in the most beautiful thing he had in the house, a pale blue tablecloth that his mother had embroidered and edged with fine white lace long, long ago. Albert buried Missy in the yard, beneath a patch of sunlight. Albert reminisced on all the great memories he had with Missy, but he suddenly felt old and very lonely. He sat all day in his sagging armchair. He didn't eat a thing. The milk stayed outside on the doorstep. The local paper lay in the front garden. At 4 o'clock, the phone rang. Albert was startled, awake from a doze. He pushed himself up out of the chair eagerly and went to answer it. "Hello? Is Mark there?" asked a woman's voice. "No, I'm Albert. There's no one else here. Sorry. Wrong number." And the phone clicked off. Then Albert seemed to hear another voice from far away in the cobwebbed edges of his mind. "Don't just stand there, Albert. Do something." "Yes, mother," said Albert out of old habit. And then he laughed. Next he would be saying, "No use crying over spilt milk, and what's done cannot be undone," the way she used to say all those years ago. Albert went out to collect his milk and his paper. He always read the free local paper from cover to cover. When he came to the personal advertisements, he suddenly had an idea. Why not? Albert said to himself. He was almost out the door when he realised he was still in his pyjamas and dressing gown. He dressed quickly, locked up his house and set off for the paper shop. A week later, Albert opened his local paper and there, on page 42, he found his advertisement. I will be 80 years old on the 30th of October. I am all alone. Will someone please send me a birthday card? And underneath was his name and his address. Albert woke up late on his birthday. He tried singing Happy Birthday to Me, but it made him feel too sad. He turned over and pulled the blankets over his head. He didn't hear the van pull up outside. Ring, 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 ring. Albert sat up in bed. Probably that woman phoning the wrong number again, he grumbled. Ring, 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 ring. No, it wasn't the phone. It was the doorbell. Albert pulled on his dressing gown and pushed his feet into his slippers. Coming, coming. He undid the bolt and opened the door. Happy birthday, Albert, said the postman. Albert beamed. Oh, thank you very much. We've got a few letters for you. He handed Albert a very large bag. For me? Gasped Albert. That's not all. Look! Albert looked. A second postman was bringing 2 more sacks from the van. Goodness gracious me, cried Albert. Well, I never. How did you know it was my birthday? I read your ad in the local paper. Looks like everyone else in the district did too. We'll collect the sacks later. The smiling postman walked back down the path. Have a good day, Pop. I will, cried Albert. He carried the sacks inside the house. With great excitement, Albert put his glasses on and began to open the envelopes. The cards all wished him a happy birthday and sent good wishes for the future. Albert stood the cards up all around the house. On the mantelpiece, the small tables, the bathroom shelf, the windows, ledges, and even on the kitchen sink. How many letters he's got. By 11 o'clock, Albert decided he needed a rest. He sat back in his armchair with a cup of tea and a biscuit. He was very happy, but also tired. Soon he nodded off to sleep. Ring, 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 ring. The doorbell woke him again. Goodness me, surely not more cards. Wherever will I put them? Albert opened up the door to find a young woman standing on his doorstep and in his front garden full of children. Hello, Albert, smiled the young woman. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Albert, cried all the children. Oh, thank you, said Albert. He was a bit confused by all the noise, but his mother had always taught him to be polite. I'm Helen Jones, said the young woman, and these are the children of 4H. The radio station? Albert was puzzled. No, the class. Year 4 from the school at the end of the road. You mean 4th class? Now Albert understood. These children have made something for you, said Miss Jones. Daniel? Anna? Daniel and Anna came forward, holding the biggest birthday card that Albert had ever seen. It was made of 2 huge pieces of cardboard taped together. On the front, it read, Happy birthday to our friend Albert. And inside, every child in 4H had drawn a special picture and written their name underneath. Albert was quite overwhelmed with emotion. He could not say a word. Look on the back, Albert. Anna was jumping up and down with excitement. Look on the back. Albert turned the card over. Small coloured paper streamers were stuck all around the edge. Read it, Albert, cried Daniel. Read it. Albert read, You are invited to be our special guest at Albert's birthday party to be held in the 4H classroom at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Please come. Once again, Albert's eyes were filled with tears, but this time they were happy ones. After lunch on Thursday, Albert began to get ready. He pressed his brown trousers, ironed his striped shirt and shined his shoes. He searched through the chest of drawers for his best jumper. It smelled of mothballs, but a walk in the open air would soon fix that. As he dressed, Albert began to feel very excited. It was just like the time all those years ago when his auntie was coming to take him to the Christmas pantomime. In Class 4H, everyone was just as excited as Albert. All the tables had been moved into the middle of the room to form one long birthday table. The tablecloth was made by the children from pictures they had drawn, all sticky taped together. The table was covered with plates of fairy bread, chocolate crackles, individual cartons of juice, little iced cakes, lamingtons, battered buns, and of course, the birthday cake. At 2:05, Miss Jones clapped her hands. Quiet, everyone. Over here to me, please. The hubbub gradually died away. When all the children were pin-drop quiet, Miss Jones asked them to remember to thank all the people at home for helping make her party food. Miss Jones herself had made the cake, with as many candles as she could fit, around the words "Happy Birthday." Then there was a quiet knock at the door. "Hello, anybody home?" Albert yelled the children. They raced to the door and led him to the room. A suddenly shy old man. "Welcome to our classroom, Albert," said Miss Jones. "Please sit down." Albert sat down at the end of the table near the birthday cake. "Please, everyone," said Mrs. Jones. The children hurried to their chairs. Miss Jones started to light the candles. They began to glow one after the other until the cake was flame bright with light. "Are we ready?" said Miss Jones. 1, 2, 3. They all sang happy birthday to Albert. It took him 3 days to blow out all the candles because there were such a lot of them. "For he's a jolly good fellow," sang everyone, and they all cheered. Albert laughed with delight. "What a birthday! Thank you, all of you. It's a day I'll never forget." He winked at the politely waiting children. "Ready, set, go!" Suddenly everyone was eating and talking and laughing. In a while there were only empty plates and crumbs on the table. "Well, it's almost time to go home," Miss Jones said. "Nadia and Chan, will you please bring our presents?" The 2 children went to the craft cupboard where Albert's presents were hidden. They brought them over to him. Chan presented Albert with a red geranium in a pot. "This plant is to grow in your garden and remind you of us, your friends." Nadia showed Albert a badge made from cardboard and crepe paper with "Special Friend" written on it in large letters. "This badge is to say that you are a special friend, and we will always be happy to see you." Miss Jones took the badge from Nadia and pinned it to Albert's jumper. Thank you all," said Albert shyly. "Will you tell us stories, please?" asked Chan, "like my grandfather did in my other country?" "My word, I will," said Albert. "I know lots of stories. I've travelled all over Australia in my time. I've done all sorts of jobs too, shearers, cook, deckhand on the paddle steamers. Why, I even helped to build the Sydney Harbour Bridge." "That's wonderful, Albert," said Miss Jones. "I think you're just the person we're looking for." "I am?" "Yes, I would like you to help us with our social studies lessons. If you agree, you can be our eyewitness news reporter and tell us about all the things you've seen and all the things that you've done. Would you be able to come every Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock? "Well, Please, Albert, please," begged the children. Albert smiled. "Yes, of course I will. More than happy to oblige." When the party was over, Albert walked home. It seemed like a dream, the cards, the children, the cake, the candles. But no, here he was with his badge and his geranium, and when he unlocked the front door, he thought he had wandered into a card shop by mistake. It had been quite a week. Next morning, Albert carefully planted the geranium in Missy's patch of sunlight. "There we are, girl," he said. "I brought you a present. We did always share everything, didn't we, Missy?" He stood back remembering. "Thank you, Missy," said Albert softly. "Thank you for helping me to find so many new friends." That's one of my favourite stories. It's such a nice, heartfelt one. I hope you enjoy your first day of Term 4's online learning.